How long? Yes, how long? How long is a piece of string? Well, of course, this emblematic question has no answer. However, if you allow me, I'd like to take you through a different way of reasoning. Yes, because if these strings represent your life, the uniqueness of your existence cannot be captured by its length or its strength, but instead by the way this humble piece of string that I dare to call your life has been woven through the fabric of reality. Davide here, who else if not your impertinent collector? And remember, if my content pleases you or just titillates your imagination, don't forget to like this video, to subscribe to my channel, to leave me a comment. Let me know that you exist. And if you want to support this heroic effort of producing new videos every week, buy me a coffee, clicking on the link in the profile, or go one step further and buy wear of gift one of my t-shirts, like my number 1, here it is, or the NJK Afternoon by secretive Italian artist Nina J. Kos. And now that we are back on track, I'd like to share with you some of the fabrics that kept my imagination on a string. I know, and this bloody string again. I start with this one here that my mom bought for me at the Liberty Department store in Regent Street in London some 45 years ago to do a cover for my bed when I was 10 years old. And because both sides have always been equally appealing to me, I could not decide which one I liked best, and so the cover was never made. And yet, wherever I went to live around the world, this long piece of fabric has accompanied me in its original form whilst I'm still deciding. A lesson here about procrastination and indecision. This one here is an interesting story because over 35 years ago, my mom, in one of her businesses trip to Paris at the flea market in Heirloom, found this lady who was selling the most diverse small piece of fabric like this one here. My mom loved the quality and the diversity, and investigating further, she discovered this lady had access to a warehouse on the outskirts of Lyon, where a textile factory that went bust in the 1970s had accumulated offcuts of their fabric since they went in operation in the 1920s. My mom paid the lady extra for the introduction, and 2 weeks later we were in Lyon, buying, loading the car with hundreds of the most beautiful offcuts, no more than 1.5 meters by 1.5, paying a fraction of what the lady was asking in Paris, and supplying many Italian interior decorators that used them for pillow for their own clients, charging them an absolute fortune. That prosperous trip to Lyon was repeated twice a year for at least 5 years, until one day the warehouse was sold and that endless supplies of marvelous fabric vanished forever. The lesson here is grab the opportunity when it comes, because the great one disappears fast. But what about the fabric in this rug that I bought on an historical 15th century original souk in Iran, right on the border with Afghanistan? Made in fact in Afghanistan some 120 years ago, I just wish it could speak to tell me its history. The lesson this time? Travel far and hear other people's tale. And go to the episode named A Tale from Persia to hear the story of my incredible trip to Iran. It's few months old. For something different now, again in the late 1990s, my mom had the chance to help clearing the content of an Art Deco villa in the fashionable summer resort of the Lido di Venezia. On top of the many items she was able to purchase, that were later sold at great profit. There are a number of linen curtains whose pattern was printed with an ancient technique used in both ancient Egypt and ancient Greece. Me, always a lover of the classical world, I was able to purchase a pair from my mom. Yes, purchase. And let me tell you, I had to bargain hard, because there was no way my mom would give it to me at cost. These curtains are not mine. They belong to the shop. If you really love them as much as you say you do, for sure you can afford the little profit I asked for the business. And just for the record, the shop was hers, and more often than not, the capital to buy items was provided by my father. The lesson here is, avoid mixing family and business. Now, going back to Nina J. Coase, one of the time I visited in Italy, she gifted me with a patchwork quilt she had made for me using small designer cuts. When asked if I liked it, of course I bent backwards and forwards to declare my love for the quilt. But in reality, I never thought much about it, and back in Sydney, it ended up in a drawer. Few years passed, and for some reason, the quilt resurfaced when I was looking for something to show to a friend who had come for afternoon tea. The moment she saw the quilt, she fell in love for it. And when she asked me where I got it from, I declared that this unknown Italian artist had specifically done it for me. And utterly in surprise, she said, "My God, you have Italian artists who produce specifically for you?" Since then, I suddenly started to love my Nina J. Coase quilt. Lesson learned? Sometimes you need someone else's opinion to appreciate what you already have. But for today, I want to leave you with a piece of Italian fashion history. Across Italy, since the 1950s, many small factories started to emerge producing fabric for clothing. Many were family-owned, and the ones with the most advanced machine started to collaborate in the 1960s-1970s with young, unknown and inspiring fashion designers. Once again, my mom, she had a client who owned one of such factories, and she occasionally would buy from her, mainly from my dad. As it happened, my mom was buying in the middle 1970s the early designer clothes of no other than Giorgio Armani. And yes, Giorgio Armani, or King Giorgio, as is known in the fashion industry, this year is turning 90. And this old jumper of my dad that I'm wearing here today is 50 years old. Lesson learned? Quality always ages gracefully. Now, how can I pair my t-shirts with the fine garments of Giorgio Armani? Simple. Genius and ego? No boundaries. But today I just want to leave you with few lines of celebrated 14th century Persian poet Hafez. Come soon, because the house of hope is built on sand. And don't forget to bring the wine, because the fabric of life is as unpredictable as the wind.